Good morning. It is Memorial Day 2020, and it is a beautiful morning here in Missouri. And some of you were on our premiere. We just did a premiere of a ride that we did through the National Cemetery to honor our fallen heroes. I am on my older Mac. That's why we've got a little less quality picture this morning. Still transferring data from my broken new Mac to my fixed new Mac or my brand new Mac. So I had a broken display on my work computer about a week and a half ago, and I got my new one in the mail last week. But I've been playing around with getting some of the files over, and I needed some more assistance with that. So I took them both into the local shop to move the files over. But I thought we would have some time to discuss and talk and share and honor and remember those fallen heroes this morning. So we put together that premiere of riding through the National Cemetery, which was the first time I had done so, and it really was. It just I don't want to say it's hard to describe, but I guess you just can't. I didn't really experience that type of emotion. Watching things on TV, even during very emotional events like 9/11 and stuff like that. Of course, I got emotional then too. But just whenever you're in the National Cemetery and you're there personally and you're walking through it or riding through it, the immenseness of the facility. And I imagine Jefferson Barracks is probably quite small compared to many of the others, but it was much larger than I knew. Even though I lived here and I've been in Jefferson Barracks Park many times, I had never went to the National Cemetery next to it. So we decided to do that as our Memorial Day experience, to really focus on honoring and a tribute to those who gave it all. And Memorial Day is kind of a interesting holiday. I think in many cases we've lost the importance of it. Of course, we want to have fun and barbecue and enjoy the weekend, but we want to avoid making it just be another reason for us to celebrate and just party. I think taking some time out to be in a spirit of remembrance for those who died in battle, who died really giving it all for the military. And I know there's different opinions on this. My opinion is pretty much anybody that's in the military, but I do understand we do have Veterans Day for that. But there's a lot of people that served, experienced action. They did not die, but their life was affected forever. So I think remembering those people who have lost something, whether it be due to an injury or mentally just not being able to deal with things, I think keeping those people in your thoughts, prayers, and also where you pay it forward, the charities that you give to, is quite important. So I see Weekend RVing, B&D Crafts, Culture, Lifestyle, Travel, Our Trained Pets, and Sue from Lucky Dog. Thanks for coming in and having a few moments with me this morning. I'd be curious how everybody else has been celebrating the Memorial Day, and we will get going here in a little bit. I'm going to share a podcast that we did recently with the U.S. Honor Flag. So U.S. Honor Flag is a great organization. I see K&R Destinations coming in over from Beyond Beauty. Thank you, guys. As I was saying, U.S. Honor Network, or U.S. Honor Flag, is a great organization that was started back around when 9/11 happened by, sorry about that, by a ex military person. Actually, he went into the military because of 9/11, and the Honor Flag kind of started even before he went into the military. Good morning, Gary. Beyond Beauty, thanks for coming in. And so this story I'm not going to steal the thunder from Cindy. Cindy Heisler is the wife of Christopher Heisler, who started Honor Flag, the Honor Flag Network. But what I wanted to do was continue kind of our tribute, in addition to the premiere that we did, along with a sharing of this podcast. Our podcasts are on our website. Most of them are pet focused or animal focused. So we did take time out after we met Cindy Heisler at the Tampa RV Super Show. She was in the Grand Design booth. They now travel around full time with the U.S. Honor Flag in their Grand Design Fifth Wheel. I think they've been doing that for about 2 years. But the actual organization started quite a bit earlier than that, and it's really a touching story of how this charity basically came about and what they focus on. And they focus on more than the military, but the honor flag is specifically focused on honoring those who have lost their life in some form of service. It could be fire department, it could be police, any of the military, and they basically have this flag that's a very special flag that is transported to many of these events where a service member has lost their life. I just saw a post that it was making its way to one yesterday and then returning. So there's a whole network of people, and it takes funds to support that, and it's very important for the families who have lost people. So consider giving a listen to the podcast today. I will stick around and be on chat, but I'm going to take my face off. And basically just leave the flag and or actually, I think it'll take up the whole screen when I share it. But basically, you'll be able to hear the podcast. And if you have any questions during the podcast about the charity, any feedback or messages, please feel free to share as we honor our fallen soldiers and fallen heroes across our nation. So thank you again for tuning in. And I'm going to go ahead and start the podcast, make sure everyone can hear it. Go back and share this screen here in just a second. Make sure I've got audio on. And we will get started. Okay, I'm going to click play there and let me know if you guys hear the audio, please. Can everybody hear the audio? Somebody give me a thumbs up on it's just the intro sound track. Aloha and welcome to our podcast. We are Brad and Christina Solomon, and along with our two large breed dogs, we are commonly found across social media as Pause and Effect. Our mission is primarily focused on all things positive, and we have a passion to pay it forward to help other people, animals, and our environment as we travel nearly full time. This podcast gives us the freedom in highlighting various charities we meet during our travels. And recently we attended the Tampa RV Super Show. And while we were there visiting with some of our friends, Finding Our Someday, they have a channel as well, we noticed the Honor Network booth right next to it. I think it was in the Grand Design facility there. And we talked briefly with Cindy Heisler, and we invited her to join our podcast to share the wonderful story around the Honor Network. The Honor Network was found on the conviction that every person who is committed in service to our communities and country deserves the support of every single American, and that an increase in American patriotism is vital to keeping our great nation united. Welcome, Cindy, and thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today.
Oh, well, good morning, and thank you for having me. It's truly an honor. I appreciate it. And it was very nice to meet you guys down at the Tampa RV show. There's a lot going on down there, a lot of people, and a lot of RVs.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were only able to attend the one day, but it was really big, and we pretty much wore ourselves out walking around that day. And we were very happy to meet you too.
I'm sure.
We just recently started this podcast, and most of our sessions so far have been pet focused, but we are also very patriotic ourselves, and so we're very happy to meet with you and have you on the podcast. We read the awesome story on the website, but I really don't want to steal any thunder. I'd love to hear it from your perspective. So can you talk a little bit about how the Honor Network came about?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is really focused on my husband. He is the founder and the president of the Honor Network, and his name is Chris Heisler. He's currently on a U.S. Honor Flag mission where the U.S. Honor Flag is honoring a firefighter in Anchorage, Alaska. The funeral was yesterday, and services continue today. So that's why I'm filling in for the podcast. So the Honor Network, Chris did a lot of philanthropic work in the state of Texas and was working for an energy company that was big on giving back, paying it forward. Same thing that you guys are doing, focused on the positive. Let's get out in the community. Let's, be involved and do things. And so one of his secretaries was the survivor of a fallen police officer there in Houston, Texas. And she took a lot of time off to go to funerals. And Chris just found that kind of odd. And like, why would you continue to go to all of these funerals? And that's when he found out that she was a survivor of a fallen police officer. And she invited him to attend one of these funerals, which he did. And during that time, again, this is in Texas. And so the heat, the humidity, he observed a lot of police and fire honor guards that would wear the, heavy uniforms. They would fall out. So they would stand at attention. They would pass out because, they're locking their knees or the extreme heat. So he started bringing coolers of water. Coolers of water led to, semi trucks bringing in water, which led to like entire setups of bathrooms and showers and facilities for these honor guard members to refresh before they went back to their respective agencies. So ironically, he got known as the Water Boy of Texas. So fast forward to 9/11, tragic day in American history. And Chris, again, just being the guy, he will go above and beyond, usually in everything that he does. And so 9/11 happens. He contacts law enforcement agencies around the state of Texas and offers to pay all their expenses to travel to Ground Zero. Well, as you can imagine, when you offer something free, everybody came on board, right? So before he knew it, he had 12 agencies that committed to driving from Texas to Ground Zero. So 12 agencies, it's the largest motorcade in U.S. history. There is some video on that. Again, this is back in 2001, so the video quality is VHS, so not the video quality we have today.
Right.
So largest motorcade in U.S. history. So they go out to Ground Zero, and right before he left, because obviously when you make this kind of announcement to the word spreads by word of mouth pretty quickly. So he received a package in the mail right before he left, and it was from the Texas House of Representatives with a very simple letter that said, "Thank you for taking our first responders from the state of Texas out to Ground Zero, and thank you for all your philanthropic work throughout the state." And in that box, it had an American flag, which today is the United States honor flag, and a Texas flag. He took both those flags to Ground Zero with him, and he was asked by the FOP of the New York, New Jersey port to help arrange bringing the families in and coordinating their services for all the fallen heroes out in after 9/11. So he did that during one of the memorial services that was held in one of the hangars, airport hangars out there. The place was filled with survivors, their children, their families, honoring all these heroes. And during this memorial service, this little kid walked up to a police officer and noticed he had a patch. His dad had collected patches, but he didn't have this patch that he saw on this officer's shoulder. And he told the officer this, and the officer ripped the patch off his uniform and gave it to the kid. And before you know it, everybody in that room is ripping off their shoulder patches. They're cutting ties off their, business suits. They are leaving behind challenge coins. It was just really impactful, leaving everything behind for these survivors that lost their heroes, that were just vaporized during the attacks. And so Chris thought that was pretty cool. He didn't have a patch to wear. He will joke and tell you that he had on a nice tie, so he didn't want to cut his tie. But he did have those two flags. So he went out to his vehicle, grabbed both those flags with all intentions of leaving them behind. And when he did that, he was approached by, again, another survivor of a fallen police officer that it told him, "You need to keep that American flag because America's going to forget. They're going to forget that spirit of patriotism. We're going to forget our heroes." She said, "My husband was vaporized in the attacks. I don't have his boots, his wallet, his badge, nothing." Well, that really impacted Chris. And so he ended up leaving the Texas flag behind for the survivors. He kept the American flag with him. He drove back to Texas, which he will tell you it was a very long drive, emotional drive. He wanted to do something. He wanted to do more than just stick a bumper sticker, on his vehicle that said "Support our troops." So he got back, actually joined the Army at 34 years of age. And the first recruiter told him, "No, you're too heavy. You're too old. You're not going to do this." Well, Chris took that as a challenge, and he worked out and ate right for the next 6 weeks, lost a lot of weight, went back in, and it was the same recruiter, and he just shook his head, and he said, "You got to be kidding." And Chris said, "Nope, I want to do something. I want to join." And so he did. He joined the Army at 34 years of age. He was deployed to Iraq. in Afghanistan. He got injured by a mortar round over in Iraq, and was flew to Germany for rehab. And while he was over in Iraq, he took the flag with him. Again, this flag that is not yet the U.S. Honor flag. It's just an American flag, which everyone is important. And so it was used during promotion ceremonies, reenlistment ceremonies over in the battlefields. So Chris gets injured, comes back to Texas. The flag stays with him the whole time. And fast forward to September 11th, 2007, the flag is flown over the Texas State Capitol in remembrance of our 9/11 heroes. And then 1 month later, 3 Odessa, Texas police officers were shot and killed in the line of duty. And they had seen that this flag flew over the state capitol just 1 month prior. And so they called Chris and said, hey, can we get that flag for our heroes? And Chris, still recovering from being hit over in Iraq and still doing rehab, he said, well, I can't physically get it there. And they said, no worries. We have a Southwest Airlines pilot that said he will fly it down to us if you can just get it to the airport. So Chris made arrangements to get the flag to the airport. The pilot flew down to Odessa, Texas. And when the flag arrived, it was sprayed down with water cannons. And there was police and fire apparatuses out on the tarmac. And honor guards came onto the plane to receive that flag. And it was just treated with such reverence that ever since then, that flag's been known as the U.S. Honor Flag and has traveled nonstop honoring America's heroes. And so after Texas, Jose Simoano down in Miami-Dade, Florida, he was shot and killed in the line of duty. They asked for the flag, and it's just been on a nonstop journey ever since then.
Wow.
Yeah, I have chills and a couple of tears from listening to the story, and that's why I didn't want to try to tell much of it. Because I mean, the website tells some of it, but it doesn't give justice to hearing it from your in your own words. So that's a
and we get chills when we tell the story because we don't get desensitized. I mean, this is what we do, and this is who we are, and this is our passion to do this and to make sure that flag is never retired, and its mission to honor, educate, and inspire never retires and just continues on. It's an endless journey. And so the Honor Network was created as the 501c3 organization, which has the U.S. Honor Flag.
We met you at the Grand Design area, and a lot of our followers are RV travelers, full-time RVers as well. And I know you have your unit now, and obviously you just explained it that way. The move into that RV is just like in the last couple of years. Can you talk to us about that RV experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm retired law enforcement, just under 20 years. Started my career out in North Carolina, ended in Colorado, and retired September 12, 2017. And Chris retired from the Army. He was living in Texas. I was living in Colorado. And the way that we met was actually over a fallen hero, Derek Gear from Mason County Sheriff's Office, was shot and killed in line of duty just the other day, on February 8, 2016. Our agency requested the flag for Derek, and I was assigned to Chris and his team for bringing in the flag. So everything from Chris's arrival to the time that he departed, Chris and that flag was my responsibility. And so that's how Chris and I met. Fast forward, I traveled with him on my own on my days off. He told me the story of the flag, and that was my passion. I was like, I want to do what you do. This is what I want to do. You know, I'm close to being well into my career into law enforcement where I can, retire and do something where I can give back, where I can pay it forward and still be connected to my law enforcement family, And so we ended up falling in love and getting married in January of 2018. And we decided we were traveling so much in 2016, and just the expense of fuel, of lodging, of eating out, and I don't like eating out at all. And so, it's just not healthy way of living, right? And so it was not cost effective at all. And we decided there's a smarter way to do this. So in October of 2017, we were shopping for RVs, motorhomes. We weren't sure what we wanted, right? But we knew that we were willing to sell everything and just go on the road full time. which would give us an opportunity to honor even more heroes and fulfill the mission even more so. And so we we ended up down in Lazy Days in Tampa, Florida, and the Grand Design 395M was the first model that we walked into, and also the last model that we walked into. So just that feeling of, it felt like home and everything fit. We could just visualize that this is what we wanted our home to be. And if you guys saw, we have the coach completely wrapped. So it's all wrapped to honor heroes. It's red, white, and blue. We've got, an American flag on it like it's flying down the road. We've got a military case on the back. We've got some shots of military members and police and fire on the slide out. So it's quite a show going down the road. So so it's October 2017. We've been on the road full time. This is our home. People like, where's your home base? I'm like, wherever we are, that's our home base. So currently it's Point Mugu, California. So next week, we don't know. In a few weeks, it's going to be at the Grand Design RV Rally up in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it's really, people, I guess, that don't full time, they're like, well, no, like, where do you go when you're not RVing? I'm like, we don't. We're always RVing. So that's cool. It's a very unique lifestyle. It's much different. It was very refreshing to get rid of so much stuff that, when you lived in a house you thought you needed, but it's really stuff that you wanted. And now we just have what we need, and that's enough. And so it's a lot of fun. We have that personal interaction. We're able to stay places longer and not such in a hurry to get from one place to the other, where we were always trying to, go back home and kind of restart. And now our home is always with us. So a lot less stressful actually being on the road full time and being able to get where we need to be. And we partnered with United Airlines last year, and they will fly the U.S. honor flag to any mission that we need it flown to, and we have honor guards that pick it up on the receiving end. So, for example, Chris flies back from Alaska. He gets into Denver very early tomorrow morning. Chris will then transfer the flag to United Airlines captain that will fly it directly down to Tampa, Florida tomorrow to honor Trooper Joseph Bullock that was shot and killed in the line of duty last week with Florida Highway Patrol. And so their honor guard team will pick the flag up from the captain, honor their hero, and then they'll put it on a flight back to Denver, Colorado. And then it's going to honor a firefighter a week from today. Actually, they're in West Metro Fire Department there in Denver. That's how we move, and we are very thankful that we have that partnership with United, and it doesn't require us to travel with it at all. Chris is up in Alaska with it. He grew up in Alaska, and so he went back there because he's got a lot of friends up in that area and connections. And actually, he was up in Alaska, guys, probably less than 2 months ago for a Alaska medevac crew that was killed up there. So Blake's been to Alaska twice just in the last few months. But that's how we travel now, and we love it. And people love it. They love seeing the coach, and we don't hide when we go down the road.
Yeah, well, so many feelings. I have a question I wanted to ask, but I in the midst of thinking about asking that question, just hearing so many people dying in the line of duty.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it's just
tragic. It's tragic, and it's happening every day. And I will tell you that we get email alerts, and we get hundreds of email alerts a day. And we have to go through every single one of those, and we do morning through night, and checking. And it's about officers that are being injured and officers that are being killed, and motorists that refuse to move over, and firefighters that are getting hit on the side of the road, fire apparatuses that are getting hit. We had a firefighter that was shot up in Chicago, Illinois the other day. I'll tell you that when I started my law enforcement career, never, ever could I imagine that a firefighter would have ever been shot. And we honored a firefighter in Appleton, Wisconsin, that was shot and killed on a call. And it will make your head spin. And it's hard to comprehend. And every hero is important to us. And people ask us, how do you do it? And it's hard. And I wish we didn't have to do it, but it's an honor to do it at the same time, because it's taking care of our family. It's taking care of the people that take care of us every day without hesitation.
Well, we applaud you, and I've regained my composure. Um, so I'll ask the question that I was planning on asking, and it's about the Grand Design
Sure.
unit that you bought. You walked
Yep.
into it. It was the first one and the last one. Did someone, or did you do some research? Because I know Grand Design has a very good following on the RV communities on social media. So did you know about the unit before you walked in?
Yeah, we did. We had looked at several different ones. We had walked, after we fell in love with the first one with this Grand Design, we said, no, don't pull, don't pull the straw out yet. We're not ready to do it yet. We need to walk through. We need to look at all the other ones. And so we did. We did our research prior to looking at RVs and read a lot about it, because this is our first RV, and we bought a monster. We bought a 44-foot fifth wheel. So it's not like we started out with a little A-frame trailer,
Dang.
So yeah, we did do a lot of research and about living on the road, and it's moving a house down the road. And so we did do a lot of research. We walked in and out of a lot of units, everything from the diesel pushers to fifth wheels to buses, and Grand Design won over everybody. And we're very, very, very happy with our unit and with the Grand Design family. They truly do strive for customers for life, and it's not something that they just put up on their website, and not just their motto. That's something that we've experienced, that they truly do strive for customers for life.
That's awesome. We had not owned a Grand Design. We had two Forest River products before we bought our most recent motorhome. We've got a motorhome now. So we tried a small travel trailer to start out. Then we moved up from a 26-foot to a 34-foot travel trailer, and now we're in a 40-foot motorhome. So I think we're going to keep this one for a while. We've got a toy hauler that's got room for two Harleys in the back of it. So we're kind of set. So
nice. Yeah, absolutely. I had my Harley, and it broke my heart, but I had to get rid of it, because we just didn't have, we've got the toy hauler area as well, but we use that for our office. So we basically live in the front, and we have two dogs, and so we're pet lovers as well, and they travel with us. We tell everybody that they're in charge, and we just drive them around the country. So
Pretty
what are your
much,
dogs'
yes.
names? What are the breeds and names?
We've got a Maltese Chihuahua mix, and I rescued her when I was working for the Grand Junction Police Department on the homeless outreach team. Her name is Tater Tot. She was born with 3 legs, and she's really the one that's in charge at whopping 6.5 pounds. And then we have Major. He's a yellow lab, and he's actually Chris's service dog. He's a good dog. I actually, it's funny, because we're out here at the ocean, and he loves they actually both love the water. But when I first met Major and we tried to get him in the water, he didn't realize what breed he was. And so I had to teach him how to swim, and now we can't keep him out of the water. So he's set. But yeah, Tater follows him everywhere he goes, and she's got her own little life jacket, and she loves to swim as well. So
that's awesome.
They're troopers. They've got a lot of frequent travel miles, as I'm sure your dogs do as well.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And
what kind of dogs do you have?
We have how old is Presley? An 8-year-old Siberian Husky that we rescued when she was a year old. And then we have a 3.5-year-old deaf Great Dane that we rescued when she was 9 months old.
Awesome. I've had Great Danes, and they are wonderful dogs. I'm assuming they're probably a leaner.
Oh, yes.
They lean. Yep.
Yes.
You're moving, they'll fall over.
Yep.
Wonderful dogs.
So you mentioned earlier a couple events. So can our listeners travel or basically go online and find out where you're going to be in case they want to come by and meet you in person and get to see the honor flag and all that type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody can go to our website at USHF, and that stands for United States Honor Flag.net. So USHF.net, and the screen is split into 3 different columns, and on the very left you'll see a screen, or you'll see a column that says glimpse, and you click on that glimpse icon, and if we are physically moving, then you can track us live tracking. Now, where the flag's up in Alaska, we don't have that on, but once Chris gets back here and we are physically moving down the road, we've got some other events planned here in California. Once the flag gets back to us, you can track us live tracking. And then also on there, if you go to the top of the screen, and click on activities, it will bring up our calendar. So you will see all the events that we have scheduled for 2020. There's events that are scheduled all the way through late this year. So you go on there and you'll be able to see all that stuff. And then we're actually, this will be posted up on our Facebook page this week, but we're doing a Celebrate America cruise on Carnival Cruise Line, and that's going to leave from Port Canaveral in Orlando, Florida, next January 23rd. So right after the Tampa RV show. So if you guys are going to be around and want to go on a cruise, it is
Nice.
absolutely open to everybody. It's going to be on the new Mardi Gras ship, which is going to be Carnival's newest and biggest ship. It is still under construction and is scheduled to finish late this year. So we'll be not the first sailing on that boat, but one of the first half dozen to a dozen. So we're looking forward to that. And it's just about Celebrate America. And we're going to actually, for the first time, we're going to bring the U.S. Honor Flag on that cruise to be able to share it with all the passengers. I think that boat holds like 6,500 people. So everybody on that ship will have an opportunity to have that, you know, firsthand and in-person experience with the flag.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Okay, next question. Obviously the mission is honoring service members, bringing awareness, and increasing patriotism. That's first and foremost, that's your mission. Are there any other ways that you benefit the service organizations besides that?
Yep, absolutely. We have partnered with a company out of Houston, Texas, Service Corporation International, more commonly known as Dignity Memorial Services, and they have a public servant program which covers all funeral expenses for fallen first responders killed in line of duty. So, for example, Trooper Joseph Bullock, Dignity Memorial Funeral Home, is taking care of his services down in Sarasota, Florida. So what that means is the family and the agency doesn't even receive an invoice for the funeral services at all. This public servant program covers all expenses, so there's not even an invoice generated. That is an incredible service that Dignity Memorial can provide to the family to say thank you for your hero's service and sacrifice. That's huge because funerals are expensive, and unfortunately, we've seen, and this is very sad, but a lot of people, some people, see a fallen hero and they see dollar signs, right? They see an opportunity to make money off of the fallen hero, and we don't agree with anybody making a dime off of a fallen hero, and so that's why the program was created. And usually we can find a Dignity Memorial funeral home within 50 to 100 miles of most line of duty deaths, and so that's a hard conversation to have, once the hero goes down, because there's so much going on, so many logistics that have to be covered for that hero. And so we really try to get that word out ahead of time. And we have flyers that Dignity Memorial has for us that we can hand out to agencies and say, unfortunately, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you might need these services. And so when that time happens, this program is in place for your hero. So if there is money that's held back, to cover funeral expenses, maybe that agency decides to give that money to the family, to the kids, instead of having to use that money to cover funeral expenses. And so we can also help arrange, smaller agencies, and this has happened several times where smaller agencies have that tragic day of losing a hero and they're just completely lost. And so we've covered, we've been involved in funerals from as minimal as they want us to running the entire funeral. So it's really whatever the agency needs of us, requests of us. We can help bring in honor guards from surrounding agencies. We just have that experience that we can bring to them and offer to them if they want it. And any agency that is lost will tell you that you cannot do it yourself. Take care of the family and let others come in and help with the logistics, because there's so much to do and cover down on, because when a hero goes down, the proper thing to do is to never leave that hero alone. So from the time of the incident to the time of interment, that hero is never left alone, meaning somebody is with him 24 hours a day, every single day. And so it really tasks an agency to cover down on everything. So like I said, we will be involved as little or as much as the agency wants us to be. And besides honoring heroes, obviously that takes up most of our time of honoring heroes. But we also visit schools, we visit youth groups, and share the story of the U.S. Honor Flag and share our mission. And kids love it. We can keep the attention of an entire room of kindergartner kids for 30 minutes, and the teachers are just befuddled of like, how did you just do that? Because they're struggling every day to keep their attention for 5 minutes. We just walk in and hold their attention for 30 minutes. Wow. So we've talked to classes of kids, young kids, 4 or 5 years old, have held the U.S. Honor Flag and put their hand over their heart without even being told to. And so it'll give you chills, from one spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. It will give you chills to see what an American flag and to hear the story of, our flag is no more important than any other American flag. The only thing that separates our flag from any other American flag is its history and the heroes that it's honored. It's not any more important than the tattered flag that might be flying over a high school or flying over a VFW. They're all important and they all stand for the same thing,
Absolutely.
So people are impacted by that.
All right, I only have time for a couple more questions or a couple more topics. One is, I saw a picture on the website of Chris with, I think it may be the service dog, but I thought it was a military dog. Is there a story behind the picture?
Yep.
If you know the picture I'm talking about?
Yeah. So that is Major, and the picture, and actually the picture on the website, I actually surprised Chris, and in our RV, one of the cabinet doors, I actually took off I actually scraped off the image and had another image like wrapped on the inside of the window, and it's Chris and Major on the window. So it's funny that you bring that up, because I'm looking at that picture as I talk about it. And actually, good friends of ours out in Denver, Colorado, you can see in that picture that Major's wearing a vest. And so these two kids got money together and raised money and to get Major a vest, because if he's at a funeral and we're not walking around, we're all targets, right? And so that is a ballistic vest for Major that they got donated after raising some money. So he has that, and we carry that with him. And he doesn't wear it a lot, but if there's situations that we feel like are more significant threat, then we've got the ability to cover Major and protect him. So that's important for us. But Chris got Major, let's see, in January of 2016. And so actually a month before I met Chris, and got him to help him with his mobility. Chris has, when he was hit with that mortar round over in Iraq, he had some deficiency on the left side. So Chris you'll either see him usually with a cane or with Major, just kind of depends on travel. And Chris didn't take him to Alaska just because of the travel on the long flight. It was almost an 8-hour flight. So that's a little bit long for Major. But since Chris doesn't have Major with him on this trip, he's got his cane with him. So Major just helps with his mobility. And, also if Chris has Crohn's disease, which is in remission right now, but if Chris starts feeling, a little bit on the downside, then Major seems to understand that he's not feeling well and will, go to Chris and go to, lay on his stomach, and just really seems to connect with him and knows what's going on with his health. So he's a great dog, and really, really helps out with the family.
That's wonderful. We love dogs, as you know. And
Yep.
I guess the last topic I wanted to have you speak just a couple minutes about the charity bike ride that I know you're in the process of
Yep.
organizing, raising funds. I think it's called BC2DC. It supports the police and also Crohn's Disease Foundation, which now I know why you selected that foundation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So BC2DC is a cross-country bicycle ride that I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to be riding from the Peace Arch border crossing in Canada all the way out to Washington, D.C. So a little over 3,700 miles. And people go, "Oh, that'd be really cool." And I'm like, no, I'm not on my Harley. I'm on my bicycle. Oh, okay. That changes things a little bit. So anyway, the reason I'm doing that, yes, is I'm raising over $100,000 to split between 4 charities. Those charities are the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, for obvious reasons, like you said. And then COPS, which is Concerns of Police Survivors, the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation, and the Honor Network. So I had scheduled to leave Canada March 26th, so just next month. The funding is not there yet, and so I'm putting the brakes on it This is just a speed bump. This isn't a roadblock, but I'm going to delay the ride. And my only timeline is I will leave once all the funds are raised, because where I'm doing this by myself, and I'm not going to have time to ride 8 to 10 hours a day and then at the end of the day fundraise. So I'm going to put my foot down and say I will leave once all the funds come in, once all the logistical costs are covered, because I'm not willing to. The Honor Network is the parent company of the bike ride. We want to have a 501c3 organization, so when people donate, they can write it off as a tax deductible donation. So I'm not willing to obviously put the Honor Network. We have our own budget created for this BC to DC, but I'm not willing to take that account in the deficit when I'm trying to raise money. I'm trying to do just the opposite. I'm trying to raise money for these organizations. So no money is going directly to me. Every dime that comes in is going to these charities, and checks will be distributed to them once we raise all that money. So it will happen. We just got to change the timeline a little bit. And like I said, once that money's raised and once all of our logistical costs are covered, I'll take off on my bicycle. So I'm looking at my bike right now. So doing a bunch of training, and there's more hills out in California than I thought, but that's okay. It's good hill training. So just training right now, and watching, eating right and training, and every day is still a focus because I want to be ready to roll, and I will be ready to roll once that money comes in. Just a matter of finding sponsors. And so right now I'm just in the process of kind of redirecting and refocusing my fundraising efforts to make sure that we make it happen.
Well, Cindy, thank you so much for your service as a police officer, and also to your husband, Chris, and his service and as a veteran of the United States. And not only, those two things, which are pretty amazing all in themselves, but just all of these other things that you've talked about today and what you're doing with the Honor Network and other charities. We just really applaud you for that. And as a thank you from us, we would like to pay it forward by donating $100 today. And we encourage our listeners to also consider making a donation. Unless you have a better way, we will be making that donation directly from the website. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Wow. I just got chills. Thank you so much. Unexpected, but
you've been giving it to us the whole call.
Well, thank you for that donation. Thank you for just allowing me to come on and interact with you on this podcast and share our story. And that's what it's about. And I hope people, listen and share. And we would much rather interact with people as we've been doing. Here out in California and stuff on positive notes. In our travels, we went from Florida to California, and so we were able to interact with agencies that have had fallen heroes in the past. But this time we were there to just interact with them on a positive note, and we weren't burying heroes, And so anytime we have an opportunity to do that, we love it. And if there's no timeline on heroes, so we have honored Korea war vets, we have honored Vietnam vets, we have honored police officers that were killed back in 1916. So if there's heroes out there, if you want us to come and talk to your school, just send us a note. We love doing those things. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. And your donation gave me chills. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, that's it for today's podcast. If you or others have interest in a discussion with us on a future podcast episode, please connect with us through our webpage or any of our social media platforms. Our website is pawseffect.com, PAWZEFFECT.com, and you can search for us on social media platforms as Pause and Effect. Until next time, we are sending positive vibes and aloha spirit. All right, folks, thanks a lot for hanging out for that podcast. It was a very special one. Let me kill the music here. There we go. All right, I hope everybody has a wonderful Memorial Day. We are done with our morning tribute and remembrance for the fallen soldiers, fallen military members, fallen police officers, firefighters, basically any service member that puts themselves in a line of duty. We want to honor today on this Memorial Day. Consider paying it forward to some of those organizations. We think the Honor Network is a wonderful one to pay forward to. And if you have the means to do so, please do that. Otherwise, enjoy your day, and just keep in mind that our freedoms and our protection is basically provided in part by these military and service organizations. So thank you so much. Hopefully we see you this evening. This evening, Chris and I will be spending a bit of time, 60 to 90 minutes, talking about our first 2 years experience with pretty much full-time RV living and things that have to go along with that. So join us. We'll also have our friends, Mark and Tina Hendrickson, who just purchased a Grand Design Momentum fifth wheel toy hauler, and they're going to hit the road here pretty soon, starting their full-time RV adventure. So you'll have a perspective from a brand new newbie, and then a 2-year, I wouldn't call us a veteran yet, but 2 years of RV life. Take care, folks.